Hi everybody, my name is Carolyn and welcome back to my show. Today I want to give a huge congratulations for the class of 2021 for graduating from college or high school if you're really an overachiever and watching this for some reason. Seriously, you guys have done some amazing work during what is going to be known as the strangest times of our lives. And so today I wanted to give a shout out especially for all of you recent graduates and to the class of 2020 who I know may still be, trying to get their footing, especially after such a strange year. But yeah, I wanted to give you guys some advice, talk about things that I've learned over the last several years, and just talk about how although the world seems totally terrifying right now, and in some ways it definitely is, in some ways there's also an incredible amount of opportunity if you're just willing to try new things and do things a little bit out of the box that maybe are out of the norm for a lot of your friends, peers, and parents and whatnot. So yeah, let's get started. So first things first, and maybe this is a little cheesy, but please take a deep breath. Stay calm. It's gonna be okay. Graduating college is hard, or leaving school in general, if you say left early or you're taking some sort of a gap year. Regardless, transitioning from an educational environment into the work world can be super, super hard. There's a lot of rejection, especially with job applications, a lot of ghosting, especially with job applications. So it can be really challenging to figure out how to go from an extremely structured environment to being not knowing where to go, not having a set plan that's going to work in place, all that jazz. But the good news is people have been doing this for thousands of years. You are not the first person to graduate from college and, get a job. You are not the first person in the whole world to do such a thing. Every year, millions of people have this exact same transition that you're going through right now. I mean, I did. It's been 7 years. Am I old? I am old. You're going to be okay. And the more that you stay calm, it's okay to be nervous. What's not okay is to be paralyzed. So if you're having a lot of paralyzing fear like I did when I first graduated, try to give yourself some grace. I don't always use the word grace, but try to give yourself time, try to give yourself a little bit of love, and remember that you're not the only person in the world who is experiencing this or has experienced this throughout all of time, and you're going to make it. It's going to be okay. You just gotta, be in this little weird, uncomfortable space for a little bit longer, but you're gonna be fine. My second piece of advice for you guys is to find something when you are in this job hunting state that fills your time, that maybe is work, is volunteering, is a creative activity that you're spending your summer doing, helping out family or something like that. Make sure you are doing activities, having an extracurricular, some might say, that is giving you time to not think about applying for jobs all day long. So whether it's, getting a job at a local ice cream shop, working for a family business, getting an internship in a weird spot that you're not really sure if you fit in, I think it's totally fine. And honestly, testing out things that are outside of your comfort zone are going to teach you so much more than things that you are already extremely confident in. I spent a lot of time when I graduated from college only wanting to do things that I knew I was actually good at, which was kind of a mistake. I think if I had expanded my worldview a little bit, had tried a few different other types of things, that I may have been a little bit more successful. But, in addition, it's also a really good time, especially if you do have the luxury of having time to try something new and crazy. We've got privilege alert here, but Lena Dunham got her first TV gigs because she spent her first summer out of college making a feature film. Now, not all of us have $60,000 that we can just drop onto making a film, but if you are someone who is, say, in the arts or in film and really loves TikTok, anybody can make a TikTok with a cell phone. You could make hundreds of videos in a month and just see what happens. Experiment, try new things, give yourself time to educate yourself, whether on YouTube or online or meeting people. Finding ways to take some risks and experiment a little bit is going to be a more interesting thing for you to talk about when you end up in internships than if you just sat at home watching Netflix the whole summer. When I first graduated college, I really didn't do that much other than just applying for jobs online through, just sending out all of the applications. I think I sent like 500 or something ridiculous like that. And it literally wasn't until I started going sailing with my dad that I met somebody who was actually able to give me a job. Frequently, people find jobs doing something that isn't related to the act of finding jobs. Things are a little weird now since we're in this weird hybrid. Are we post-COVID? Are we still there? What do we do? But the more opportunities you give yourself to try new things, meet new people, and have something to keep you occupied and keep your brain churning is super important. Next, and this is super important, network, network, network. Seriously, I don't want to be your only source when it comes to getting job advice. I think I do have a lot of valuable advice, but I also don't consider myself to be an authority on such a thing. But at the same time, at this point, think that applying for most jobs online through applications is kind of dumb. And here's why. For the average job posting, especially in a city like New York or San Francisco, LA, Austin, a larger city, companies are getting an average of 300 people who are applying for each position. In addition, most companies use some sort of ATS software that scans your resume and looks for very specific keywords that will arbitrarily put you on the list or off the list before your resume ever actually has a human read it. So if your resume, isn't ATS friendly, you can Google that to find out how to do that. But it can knock you out of the running before someone even has the chance to give you a shot. Additionally, trying to accomplish something the same way that everybody else is accomplishing something means that you could be going up against, some of the best people. But typically, if you really want to stand out, you want to do something different. The people who we know and love in sports, the people who we know and love in business, they didn't get there by doing the same things that everybody else did. They managed to accomplish things by trying new things, building something new, taking a risk that maybe was different from what everybody else was doing. My philosophy when it comes to job hunting at this point is that it's all about networking, right? Finding people to talk to who are in your field, talking to people who are in your life who may or may not be doing what you're interested in, but using it as an opportunity to see if they know anyone or if perhaps what they're doing is actually more interesting than you originally thought it was. And I think where I went wrong when I first graduated from college was I was very focused on only talking to people who were in the industries that I was interested in. And I was super, super narrow on that. So I wanted to do something creative. So I was talking to people at ad agencies. I was trying to find something in television or film, or maybe, some nonprofits or digital companies like BuzzFeed that I was particularly interested in. But what I didn't do was I didn't reach out to new people. I only reached out to people in my network and tried to see if I could get that contact who I knew, somebody who worked in the law department at Viacom, to try to introduce me to somebody who worked in the film department, which of course they had no contacts with. And I found myself coming up against all of these different dead ends. It was a mess. And what I've learned now, being a few years out of school and having been in the work world for a long time, is the best way to meet people in your industry is to reach out to people who are doing those things, even if you don't know them. I think a lot of people, when they think of networking, they think of nepotism, right? So they think about, oh, well, they only got there because their father was the CEO. And yes, there are a lot of people who do that. But at the same time, networking is also about reaching out to somebody who you really believe in their work, or you have somewhat similar career paths, it's really easy to find these people on LinkedIn. Like, I can't tell you how easy it is. I know so many young people who use LinkedIn to just post their resume, right? But the reality is there's a whole social media component to LinkedIn as well, where people post really frequently. People are sharing articles or ideas, job postings, and you can go on LinkedIn and message anyone who you want in the world. That is a possibility. So if you send somebody a note and say something that's like, hi, I'm a recent grad, was a film major in college, and I'm really passionate about the work that you've been doing at BuzzFeed. I would love to talk to you a little bit about your career, how you got there. I also saw that you went to this college. Oh my God, that's my alma mater as well. A lot of times you have to keep these notes really short, so make sure it's compelling. Don't use the same note for everybody. Find a way to make it stand out in some way, even if it's really simple. Typically, people in the work world love talking to young people, and if they don't, that's okay. There's millions of other people in the world who you could also talk to. So all you have to do is go and find them. I really did not do this. I would go on LinkedIn and I would go and look at people's career paths and be like, wow, they've had such an interesting career path. Isn't it cool how they did this and this and this and this? And instead of asking them how they did that, I just sat there thinking, oh gee, so they must have done that by doing this. And by doing this, they met somebody who did this. And if I had just, sent one of them a note and said, hey, my name's Carolyn, I'm really passionate about this, I would love to talk to you. I specifically saw how you made this type of transition. I maybe could have gone somewhere. So networking isn't just about people you already know. It's about meeting new people who are already doing the things that you want to do, or people who are doing things that you have no idea about, that you have no overlaps in, or just like some overlaps in, right? And asking them about their jobs. You never know what you're going to find. Basically, at this point, I only will submit a formal application if I know if a company is like really strict about that, which some are, or if I know that I can write a killer cover letter. So I used to be the person who would send out hundreds of applications. Now I send out like 5. Like I'll do like 2 a week or something like that if I'm job hunting. I'm not job hunting right now, but if I were, the bigger thing would be reaching out to people who are posting these jobs in the first place and trying to see if I can make a connection that way rather than throwing myself into the void. The other thing to keep in mind too is, I don't know the exact stat, I should have looked this up before filming, but I believe it's something like 50 to 60% of jobs are not posted on the internet. Part of this is for a lot of different reasons. It's not just that recruiters are out to get you. A lot of it has to do with a team recognizes that they need a job, need someone to fill a job, and then somebody internally takes it. Next, I want to talk about interviews and how if you've been having a lot of interview anxiety, you really don't need to worry as much as you're worrying, and here's why. The reality is, every interviewer who is interviewing you wants you to be their dream candidate. Every person who you talk to who is looking for a new person to join their team wants you to be the coolest person they've met. They want you to help them solve a problem, which is they need help doing something. So if you can go in there and, be a coherent human being, be your marvelous, charming self as you always are, even if that's like super sarcastic and cynical, some people love that and they only want to work with people who are sarcastic and cynical. That's not me. I'm a sunny ball of sunshine. Super optimistic. But regardless, interviewers want you to be their new hire. In every interview that an interviewer is in, if they have invited you into the office, they want you to be there. And not only that, they want you to be the one. This is something that I really struggled with for an extremely long time. It wasn't even that bad, but I think my biggest interview fail was I got an interview at BuzzFeed right at like BuzzFeed's peak, right? Everybody was all over it. They were getting like millions of applicants all the time. I applied on the website with a pretty good cover letter. It was very silly. Very much not a traditional cover letter type of a thing. And at the time, it was harder to get an interview at BuzzFeed than it was to get into Harvard. So I was feeling pretty proud of myself, but at the same time, I was also so terrified. I was only a year out of school. I was so nervous that they wouldn't hire me. And really, I should have gone in there with the like perspective of, oh, I'm a marvelous young person. I am totally capable. They're really impressed with me. Like, I just gotta go and like tell a lot of jokes. I was a comedian for years, and so my recipe now for interviews is just like, just crack jokes the whole time. That doesn't work for everybody, but that's how I, kind of share myself, because that's how I am in real life. Is I'm just, if I'm talking to friends or I'm in a workplace, I'm always cracking jokes. So I try to be as normal as possible by telling like 4 times more jokes than I normally would. But usually it works out. Yeah, I got into that interview and I was probably shaking, looking like the scaredest little puppy dog that you've ever seen. I put on like a dress and a blazer, and everyone knows what people at BuzzFeed dress like. It's all over the internet. I should have worn like cool jeans and heels and like a blazer with like a t-shirt or something. But I got all dressed up and I was like shaking. I was so nervous. And they were like, oh my gosh, you're so impressive, but like you're clearly too young. And like, I wasn't too young. I just was too scared. If you're running into issues with interviews where you're having a lot of interview anxiety, I recommend finding opportunities to practice with people who you know, who love you, who maybe scare you a little bit in real life. Whether it's having an interview with a parent or a grandparent, an aunt, uncle, a friend, a friend's adult in their life, finding more opportunities to put yourself in uncomfortable situations, having those types of conversations is super helpful. It's also super helpful to just physically practice answering basic questions out loud. I can't tell you how much I use the word in interviews. I use it a general amount in real life as well, but not that much. And then in interviews, it turns into every single breath that I take isn't actually an or an The more you can practice saying answers to generic interview questions, the more conversations you have. I mean, networking is a huge part of this. The more that you can network, every networking call is kind of like a friendly interview, right? So take every opportunity to just get used to the concept and to remember they want you to be the one. And you might be. And you might not, and that's okay, but they do want you to be the one. And that's really important to remember. Is my hair okay? Probably. Who knows? I've noticed in all of my videos that like I keep having hairs out of place, and it's like I just need to invest in a whole lot of hairspray, but I'm so low maintenance. I just don't want to do it. I just don't want to bother. The last thing I want to talk about today, my 5th tip for new grads, is find opportunities to take measured risks. Now, what do I mean by this? I mean, when you are young, you typically, not always, but typically, you have more opportunities to try new things. You typically have the opportunity to be a little cheap. You don't need as many nice things. You're used to living in dorm rooms and whatnot. You don't need to pay for family members typically. Assuming that you are lucky enough to be in this position, you are typically just taking care of yourself, and you don't really need that much. You don't need to pay for daycare or something like that. And if you do, I love you and I applaud you and I am so impressed by you. Seriously, I know I've had a very privileged life, but also know there's millions of people out there who struggle every day. But even so, I still do believe that taking a measured risk, finding an opportunity to try something that you've always wanted to try, do something you've always wanted to do, or get out of your comfort zone. You can do this in a whole bunch of different ways, whether it's, finding an opportunity to educate yourself, learn, travel, maybe a little bit post-pandemic, make some TikToks, create a YouTube like this, be like me, trying to start a company, come up with prototypes. I've come up with a few prototypes for apps and things like that, where I've made like full-on product maps showing like exactly what every single page would look like, created pitch decks and stuff. And although none of them have gone anywhere, I've been been able to share them with interviewers and stuff. Oh yeah, I worked on a project like that. I did this and this and this and this. We were really successful in this area, but we weren't able to figure out how to launch it, or we did launch it, but it didn't have product market fit, whatever. Being able to show that you've accomplished something, or that you've tried something new, or that you've done something a little bit different is going to be something that is going to make you stand out. You know, just in life, for your career in general, and it's something that I highly recommend. Again, the reason why I say measured, depending on where you are in your life, depending on what commitments you have in your life, depending on all sorts of different things, you may be able to take a massive risk, or you may only be able to take a small risk. But I would argue that small risks are just as important as large ones. Being able to test some things out, being able to try some new things, you never know what's going to happen. So go for it. I think being fresh out of school is a great time to try new things, is a great time to experiment, is a great time to do something that maybe isn't something that you originally thought you would do. A lot of my career has been, I've only had one job offer at a time when I've really needed a job. I've never had the luxury of being able to pick and choose a position. And I think statistically that is what happens to most people, is they get one job offer and that's the one they go with. And in some ways that can be really upsetting, especially if it's something that you didn't want to do. But it can also be an opportunity for you to learn and grow and either further decide, oh yeah, I really don't want to do that. Now I'm more motivated to go and do something else. Or it's an opportunity to say, wow, I didn't expect to enjoy this. Maybe this is something that I want to do. Be open-minded, take a risk. You got this. Thank you so much for watching today. Please feel free to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I am a pretty new YouTuber. We'll see how long this goes, but I really appreciate you taking the time to watch and listen today. I hope this advice was helpful for you. Do you think there was anything that I missed? Was there any piece of advice that you really, really enjoyed? If so, let me know in the comments down below. Really enjoyed having this conversation today. I talk to college kids all the time and try to, you know, do my best to encourage them to try new things and to not be so picky. I know I was so picky when I was fresh out of college, and I think that limited my potential possibilities. I would like to encourage you guys to try to be as open-minded as possible and be willing to try new things, meet new people, and do some things that are scary. This is the time to do it. So go rock and roll. All right, wishing you guys all the best. Bye.